Welcome to Crowned and Called, Jennifer. I'm so excited to just pick your brain, just to give you a little background about Melinda and Crowned and Called and how it all came about. So, Crowned and Called was formed through a hard season that I am real time walking through right now. So, I will say March 17th changed my entire family. That was getting terminated from a position that I poured 11 years into. I can say today that I'm so glad that that happened to me because I am revealing the true Melinda that's been hiding under emails, phone calls, to-dos, answering to everybody else and ignoring what God wants me to do. It's been on my heart to do this podcast for 3 years, and I wanted to form this around women in business, entrepreneurs, and God said, nope. Guess what? You're going to do this to help other women walk through hard seasons by telling your story, and then you're going to let them tell theirs. So that's why we're here today. So I cannot wait to hear all about you, and I'm not going to steal any more time from you. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about Jennifer, who you are, what you do.
So it's kind of weird that you just explain what you've gone through and the season that you're in. You know, if you'd have asked me who was Jennifer 5 years ago, it would have been a business owner and entrepreneur and wife and mother and all those things. And then life happened. And now, finding your identity is a totally different thing. And while I'm still an entrepreneur, I'm still a mom, I'm single, all those things. The true Jennifer is that person that can live in my authentic self. And, it's about helping others on their journey. If I can make it a little bit easier than what the things were that I've experienced, then that's my mission. It's about impacting others' lives and helping them learn to love themselves. And it took a lot of work. It's still a lot of work. It's a daily work to truly love yourself and embrace all the good, the bad, like all the things, and let go of all the identities and beliefs that we were told we were supposed to do. So,
Right.
I am a business owner. I own a salon company here in Gretna, Louisiana. I am a business partner in a consulting firm for salons and spas. Actually, it's the largest consulting company in the world for salons and spas, and I have the privilege of serving on a role as a regional person. So I'm over 7 or 8 states, and I have a team of like 10 coaches, and I work with accounts individually and facilitate and speak, and those are all just like kind of it's my passion because it exposes me to help more people, but it's not my identity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It used to
Yeah.
be at one time, but now it's like I get to do those things, but I don't have to do those things.
Love it. Love it. Isn't that a great thing when you can wake up and do what you love to do?
Hmm.
And someone told me one time, like, would you go and bake cakes and not get paid for it? Yes, I would, because I love doing that. Would I go and do someone's hair and makeup? Yes, I would, because I love doing that. Would I go sell insurance because that's the business I left? Yes, I would. I guess I'm just a a lover of people, I guess you could say. So yeah, it's cool. That's cool that you can wake up and do what you love to do,
Yeah.
and not have to be behind the chair per se,
Yeah,
right?
it is, and it's when you are truly passionate about what you do and you realize that you're serving others and making that positive impact, then it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like a
Wow.
job. The money that comes with it is just an added bonus. And so, I mean, when I was behind the chair, I never ever thought I would do anything other than be behind the chair. And you know, God, universe had a different plan. And after 25 years of doing hair, life happened and some things changed. And I went from, you know, being a salon owner doing hair to really working on my business, being a salon owner and diving into the coaching world. And more doors have opened. And now it's almost a bigger stage to make a bigger impact with more people versus just behind my chair.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not confined anymore. I guess you
Mm-mm.
could say, and
Yeah.
I don't want to say confined because there are a lot of great hairstylists that love being behind the chair. That's okay. But you just know in your gut, like when you're called for more, it just feels right and doors open and things flow when you're aligned.
Percent. And look, I loved what I did behind the chair. I had amazing relationships with every one of my clients. Even to this day, there's quite a few of them that, and I still own the company. And so, I get to see them when I walk in there and things like that. But it was just, I knew physically it was time to let go of that because my body was taken it was taking a toll on my body. Little did I know that this other door would open, and so I still get to be in the beauty industry. And I always say the beauty industry is the best profession on the planet. You get to meet the most amazing people and serve clients, and they connect with you. You get to be a part of their journey and their life. And when you get to share other people's stuff, there's something very special about that.
Yeah.
So I don't diminish that at all. Like, the beauty profession is great. And like I said, this other opportunity opened up, and I still get to work with hairstylists all over the country now. And it's great to watch these young souls just dive in and them explore their journey and start making impacts.
Yeah. And get to be a piece of that. That's a beautiful part. That's awesome. I want to talk a little bit about hard seasons and what it took to get through a hard season, because that truly is what Crown and Called is. So, talk to me, take me through a season that you say, I would say, like maybe almost broke you or made you take a step back and go, wow, how do I get up tomorrow? I don't know what to do
Yeah.
next.
So for me, I've been married and divorced 3 times.
Mhm.
And the last divorce ended at the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. And I knew at that point I was the common denominator with every relationship. And two of those relationships were extremely toxic and abusive. One, with I had my kids, and while there was a lot of toxicity there, I think it was both of us just being young and trying to navigate life. And we're
Mhm.
blessed that we co-parent now. We're friends. Melissa's married to him, and that we all have an amazing relationship, and that's great.
That is just not to stop you, but when she told me about you and she's like, "Oh yeah, my husband's ex-wife," I'm like,
Oh
"Okay,
yeah.
that is amazing that y'all are all co-parenting and you get along. That's so good
Yeah.
for the kids."
And that it took a while to get to that point. The
Yeah.
first few years it was like politeness because that was expected,
Yeah.
and there was some little, head butting and scuffles, and we're both very strong personalities and very territorial, and we had to learn to navigate because I was still a huge part of the family. I
Mhm.
always say him and I got divorced, but I didn't divorce the family. And so, family functions and holidays, I'm still a part of all of those things. A lot of them are held here at my home. And so, the first couple years, Melissa and I kind of bumped heads. And then in 2020, I woke up one morning. We'd kind of had a little falling out, and it wasn't going good. And I was just like, I'm not dealing with this. I don't need to deal with this. And I woke up one morning and I'm like, you're supposed to ask her to go to a women's conference in
What?
California. And so I went to their house. Like, she bought a house one, like, in the same neighborhood as me. And I'll never forget her coming and telling me, like, oh yeah, I bought a house around the corner. And I'm like, who does that? Like, who buys a house?
Wow.
Husband's ex-wife, like, and she just kept saying it'll be good for the boys. And the one thing Lewis and I had always said was that we would never use our children, and that they always came first over everything with us. We were
Awesome.
not going to be those people that you can't see your kid because you don't do this, or it's my weekend, you can't do this, or like we know, like that was a hard no for us. And look, we had to fight and argue and go through all those things, but I think once we I got to the other side and said, okay, stop reacting.
Hmm.
Stop reacting. This is part of your life. Now, what is it you're supposed to learn? How are you supposed to navigate? And Melissa and I, we sat down and she agreed to go to this conference with me, and then it got canceled because of COVID. So we ended
Wow.
up going on a vacation together instead. We just, you know, I had to put myself in her shoes, which was hard. Like, what, she's coming into this dynamic of the ex-wife is still around. The nieces and the nephews all still call her Tia, and the mother and father-in-law still go to her house, like, and I had to really say, like, how would I feel if I was in that place? And I think that was the turning point, was like, stop making it about me and look at it from that angle. And her and I have a ton of stuff in common, and look, she's the best bonus mom I could ever ask for my boys, and she's exactly what Lewis needed. She gives him the things that I never could. And so I think that part of my life was, looking in the mirror and taking ownership for my part in all of that. And so that's a hard thing to do, but it is part
Yeah.
of the healing. Like, it's very easy to be the victim, and in this relationship do this, or they did this, but at some point you have to say, okay, well, what was my role in it? Because it takes two to play,
Yeah.
and that comes with maturity. But backtrack, after the third divorce, I was living like a rock star. I was just turning 50. I was partying it up, and I was on a girl's.
All right, I wanted to pop in. Now, if you're enjoying the story, please do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel, like this channel, share this channel. Okay, enough talking. Go refill your coffee because the story gets good.
Beach trip, and I got the phone call that my baby sister had been in an accident, and she was being flown to a hospital about 2 hours from where I was. And for the next 5 days there was a lot of uncertainty, and then
Wow.
we ended up losing Gab, and that was the low point. That was the turning point that really stopped me in my tracks and was like, okay, there's more to what's going on, and it's time for you to, like, slow down, stop doing all the things that everybody expects you to do, and face the demons, work through them, and take some time and just pause and understand that it's going to take some time. I've always done personal growth, self-development, huge Tony Robbins fan. My other sister and brother-in-law, they're business owners, and they same thing. They had been to Tony Robbins multiple times, and I've done things online. And so in 2022 at Gabby's funeral, my sister, my brother-in-law cornered me. And now, mind you, I wasn't close to any of my siblings at the time. We kind of had our ups and downs, and there was some things that happened in childhood that we were able to work through. But my brother-in-law cornered me, and he said, we need you to come with us to Tony Robbins in November. Your sister's going to need you, and we need you to, like, go all in. And I was like, okay, give me the dates, I'll clear my schedule. And I went, and that 4-day event, it was Unleash the Power Within, was exactly what I needed to really let go and start defining and finding out what made me do the things I was doing.
Wow.
He has amazing speakers. He really teaches you about mindset,
Hmm.
and he teaches you how to reframe limiting beliefs, things, in my mind, I had always been taught that all men and your friends will lie, cheat, and steal from you. So you have to always keep the guard up. And that was something that came from multiple people in my life, not just one person. I can remember my first marriage, his grandmother at Christmas time giving us money, and then
Hmm.
being in the kitchen and her coming and giving me $100 that he didn't know about, and her saying, you always have to have your own money, never
Mhm.
depend on anyone, hide this, invest it, do whatever, but you can't trust him.
Wow.
And so it was something that had always been told to me. And then, I look back, and subconsciously there was friends to betray me, and people to leave, and
Mhm.
multiple divorces, and the cheating and the lying, and the stealing money from the bank accounts and all those things. And so at Tony's event, it was, is that really true? Look around at the people in your sphere, and who has never lied, cheated, or still stolen from you. It was changing that perspective. So there's
Mhm.
a lot of things around that. He teaches you how to navigate emotions. And there's this beautiful thing he calls the triad. And so you can get grounded in certain emotions. And so it was a
Mhm.
lot of techniques to learn how to navigate different things in life. And
Mhm.
not that, I can't be sad or I can't be angry. I just choose to not live in those zones. I will feel it, release it, but I'm not going to stay there.
That's awesome. And it truly is a mind game. Your
Mhm.
mind is so powerful
Oh, yeah.
and your tongue is so powerful as well. And I have learned through this season that if I can just change the way I think, I
Hmm.
truly can change the outcome of my day. March 16th and prior, honestly, I didn't know how to do that. And
Hmm.
I say that because life is so different now for me. God stripped me of everything and I've been forced to pause, to
Hmm.
take a step back and go, okay, now this is what a real deep breath feels like,
Yeah.
right? And really do a cleanse of Melinda and just go, okay, let me, because it's constant, it can be all day. You weren't worthy. Oh, they lost confidence in you. I'll never get that out of my head.
Yeah.
That last sentence.
That's
That
a
can,
blow to the ego.
oh my God, tell me about it. Girl, it took weeks for me to stop crying,
Oh, yeah.
to sit and look in the mirror and go, you're all I could do is say you're worthless. Nobody wants to hire
Yep.
you. What are you going to do now? You're 52. You're
Yep.
unhireable. There's no way. Like you don't even have a college degree. Like you just have this insurance license. So now what?
Hmm.
And you have no income to fall back on. You did life poorly, all the crap,
Oh,
just
yeah.
over and over and
Well,
over and
and
over.
that's the ego just keeps stacking it. You just keep
Ah,
stacking, 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 and you know, none of it is 100% true.
I know. I'm like, this is not this. I can say that today and go, you know
Right?
what?
But when
Those
you're
are lies
going
from the
through it,
devil.
you don't, you believe it. You believe it.
So during your hard season, Jennifer, there are moments because I had them and I still have them, but they're not as bad as they were. So during your hard season when nobody is around and it's just you and God
Mm-hmm.
and that space that you're in, how did you combat those thoughts, those lies from the enemy? What
Mm-hmm.
happened during the walk? What was that like for you? Share that with me. Let our viewers know because I think that doesn't get communicated enough.
Well, first of all, it's still the walk. It's
Mhm.
still, it's a daily.
Mhm.
I had this conversation with one of our team members the other day about this, and she's like, what's the routine? What's the schedule? What's this? And I was like, look, the best thing I can tell you is that you have to have a solid routine that supports the lifestyle that you want. So if you say you want peace in your life and you want freedom and you want financial success and you want to have happy moments and joy, then you've got to set yourself up for that type of lifestyle, and the things that you do every day make that happen. Now,
Mhm.
you're going to have life happen to you, and events will happen, but if you are grounded in the things that you want. So for me, I've been a huge gratitude journaler for probably 20 plus years. I jokingly say that that kept me from murdering people through the years, because I literally start every single morning, waking up like, okay, I'm awake. Thank you, God, for waking me
Mhm.
up today. Who do I serve? What's going on?
Love it.
And I sit outside. I take care of the animal and the animals, and then I go sit outside and listen to my meditation music, and I will sit there and just get really quiet, which was a very difficult thing for me to do, to tell the brain, okay, just let the thoughts go through, not turn them off, but just let
Yeah.
them go through without judgment, without trying to solve the world. But I will write down 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for every single morning. And it's not just family. It could be, I got upgraded my seat on the airplane, or the person at the hotel. There's this hotel I stay at a lot in Miami when I'm down there for work. And the barista, when I walk in, he's like, "Oh, my lady, you're back." And he's like, "Are you going to want your egg whites in the morning?"
Oh,
Like,
wow.
those are little nuggets of just like,
Yeah.
oh wow, he remembers me. And so I always start with those moments. It might be, oh, I got home safe travels last night, or I get to sleep in my bed, or I got to watch the sunrise, the sunset. So I always start out with gratitude. And I learned a long time ago on research that you cannot be great and sad and angry at the same time. It's scientifically
Mhm.
impossible for the brain to do that because it's two different sets of hormones. So, starting every single day out in gratitude will set you up for success. I surround myself with content, people that are going to uplift me. I'm a firm believer in the circle of control. So that's
Yeah.
another part of navigating through my healing journey. And when I say circle of control, you or any of the listeners can Google this. There's different parts of what's going on that we have no control over. We have no control over what is going on in the politics or even in religion. Like there's certain layers that we don't have control of what they do and say. What we do have control of is what we do and how we react and respond. We
Mhm.
have control over our emotions, our thoughts, our beliefs.
Mhm.
I start navigating, if something's coming up for me, then I have to take a pause and say, okay, why am I seeing this way, or why am I feeling this? Um,
Mhm.
so I try to navigate what I let in, music and TV, and just even people. My friend group has changed drastically. My
Oh,
circle has gotten a lot smaller.
wow.
Love all the people that were in it before, but we're
Mhm.
in two different seasons now, and there's certain things that I'm like, okay, I don't want that in my life anymore. I
Mhm.
choose peace and joy, and
It's great.
so it's a choice, but you do have to be disciplined and consistent. And a lot of people lack that. Being very self aware. I had a little medical scare, and this is something I've navigated since 2020. And,
Mhm.
I pre-cancer breast cells, so atypia right
Wow.
before it turned into cancer. So had to have a lumpectomy. Everything was fine. Um, 3 years later, came back. They found 3 more cysts. Navigated, had biopsies. They all came back benign, thank God. But the revelation was that I needed to remove the breast implants that I had put in my 20s. So a year and a half after losing Gab, I go and I remove my breast, and that was a huge mental decision and physical, because when you walk around looking at yourself very well endowed for 25 plus
Yeah.
years, and then all of a sudden you go back to what you were previous, there's a lot of emotions. But I
Correct.
just knew that that was what I was supposed to do. And then lo and behold, about 5 weeks ago, had an MRI come back, and they found something again. And so there was that 3 weeks of like, what is going on? I had to have biopsies, and they couldn't do one type of biopsy. They had to do, all this stuff. And I had to give myself permission to shut my work calendar off, cancel all my meetings, which is not something I normally do. I canceled everything for 4 days. I let myself have the good cry. I just was like, okay, like, God, why is this happening again? Like, what is going on? What am I going through? What it is like, I believe in underlying roots to every disease and illness that you have. So I'm like, okay, what is it that I need to do differently? Like, why am I experiencing this again?
Yeah.
Kind of just like took 4 to 5 days to just sit with myself, have the cries, did a lot of journaling, a lot of meditating. And, 2 days later, I get the call that everything is fine, that it's benign, and it's like, okay. But in that, it was like, okay, what are you still hanging on to
Mm.
from the past? What are you still harboring? And so when I say you're always walking and healing, even when you feel like you're at your top, you're
Mhm.
going to be challenged again with something. And
Yeah.
so it's being aware enough to know that sometimes you have to pause, have to. And it doesn't mean that you can't control or whatever. It just means take a moment, breathe it in, let it go. This was God's way of saying, like, hey girl, like,
Yeah.
I'm still here. You need to take a pause.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate with that because I didn't have cancer, but I had stress, a
Yes,
ton of it, a heap of it. And that can very well cause cancer,
yes. Oh
because
yeah.
you neglect your body. You know, for me, sitting and walking through, I should say, walking through my career and just the overwhelming demands of
Mhm.
Melinda needing to go here and there, and just a lot of spinning plates. And I remember driving to work one day, and I have a 45-minute commute.
Mhm.
Driving to work one day saying, God, thank you. I prayed in my car. And that was the other thing, is like, you didn't take the time to sit and just be in the moment like you did, like you talked about. You tried to do that in your car. And I was like, oh, I'll get my prayer in while I drive. And I remember telling myself, man, this is great. Money's great. Business is good. It's growing. Everything was okay. And I just felt empty.
Yep.
Like I just felt like something's missing. God, I don't
Mhm.
feel 100% fulfilled. Like I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I love, the community that I serve, but there's something missing, God. What do you want of me? And then shortly after I get terminated.
Yep. Yep. He answered the prayer and said, there you go.
And I didn't see that. But today I'm like, be careful what you pray for, because God will give it to you.
Mhm.
I, in the beginning, wrestled with God. He's like, okay, you want to go? Let's go. And I did the why me? Why now? And how long do I have to sit in this, right? Before I feel things turn around. Was there a moment for you where you wrestled with God, in whether it was through the divorce or whether it was through cancer or the loss of your sister? What helped you get through that? Was there a scripture that you stood on?
So, a couple of things. So, one, I would say that I'm a very strong faith spiritual person, but I do not believe in organized religion. And a lot of that comes from growing up in a very narcissistic religion. That was
Mhm.
everything was black and white. And then through the years, searched different faiths, different things. And so I've always had a very strong faith in God and a higher being, or universe, spirit, whatever it is you call it. My turning point for me was saying, okay, I know I can't be a part of organized religion where other imperfect humans are judging me.
Mm.
But for me, it's okay, I know my moral compass is very strong. I have a very, very strong faith.
Mhm.
The day that Gabby died, I went back to the condo and I went for a run on the beach. I was probably 2 miles from our condo. And I was crying and just, I was so angry. And I looked around and I realized that the tears, I was in the midst of a thunderstorm. There was nobody on the beach. Everybody had, went inside, not a soul, umbrella chair, everything. And it's a lightning
Wow.
thunderstorm all around me. I remember just like sitting down on the beach, and there's just this light that like just poured out of the dark clouds, and I could just feel Gabby saying like, "Sister, you're smarter than this. Get your shit together. You've got
Wow.
to go back to your why. Why are you here? You've got to go back to that." And literally sat on the beach, had my good cry, lightning hitting all around me, and it's dark all around me.
Wow. Jennifer.
And that was my moment. Now, like I said, very strong faith. I meditate, pray every single day. And I know that there are things in life that we experience and go through where it's beyond our control.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
there's got to be a higher being. There's a higher purpose to guide us. Each person going through this has to find what works for them. Is laugh, not what society says. There's the scripture that with the what is it? I actually have it in my room. The greatest of all is love. And I think like if you can go back to that, and we always say love, we look at love and we think, oh, we have to love others, but it's really about learning to love yourself.
For me, I'm a mother of four and my kids are adults. I posted this on my YouTube. Are you waiting and whining? God just gave me a message that day because I have my two youngest here and they've been affected by,
Yeah.
all of this as well. And they were feeling they had their own piece of emotion tied to everything that happened. And here I am one night and we're all sitting in my living room and I'm just an emotional wreck
Mhm.
because I'm going, God, everybody has moved on with their lives. They've gone and found something to do. And here you have me. Like, what do I do? Like, I don't know how to be me anymore. I was just an emotional wreck. And they're just staring at me and I can see their face and they're just like, I don't know how to help mom.
Yeah.
I don't know what to
Yeah.
do for her and I want to, but I just don't know how to do it. It was a look of how do I help mom, but also a look of mom, get your ass up.
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
whining. You are a successful woman. You have 11 years of knowledge and success under your belt. There's no need for you to sit there and sulk. Like, enough sulking. You have been in a pity party for 7 days, more than that, and it's time for you to move on.
Hmm.
You're very capable. That morning, that very next day, when I was reading, he's like, go pour into other people and
Hmm.
stop whining.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to wait. James 4 says you have to wait and you have to allow yourself to grow and change and be reformed. That's what's happening. You are in the waiting season right now, but you're not waiting and not walking forward. You have to continue to wait and walk because you have to trust him, and you're not going to get the answers that you want because he has to mature your endurance. So when you come out on the other side, when the storm has gone by, you're a different person. You
Yeah.
look at things
Yeah.
differently. So that was a turning point for me
Hmm.
when I saw their faces and I go, oh, God. And I look at that today and I'm like, I can't take that back. I can't change that. But what I can do is know that I have to be the example for them and for myself, because if I'm not whole, I cannot pour into these kids and I cannot pour into anyone else that I sit and chat with. How can
Yeah.
you? You just can't. You can't if you're not whole and 100 emotionally, physically, like it's hard to do that and be
Yeah.
that person for somebody else.
Well,
You
and
just
and
can't.
that's the thing. Like our children are looking to us as role models and influence, and they want to see how we're navigating it. And I think when they can see the human side of, okay, we fail but we don't stay down, how are we
Mhm.
going to get back up? That's a huge part of it. I'm a firm believer that life is happening for you, not to you.
Yeah.
you know, and I kind of, navigate things with, I'm a victor, not a victim.
Hmm.
And, despite divorce and things like that, like I went through, molestation as a child, and people didn't believe me, and then deleted it, and then went to different people in the church to let them know, like, this person did this to me, and it
Hmm.
was no, he didn't, no, he didn't, type thing. And so I chose to just delete it out of my life. And
Mm.
then it, started coming back. And it was like, okay, why did this happen?
Yeah.
How was this event in my life supposed to help me help others? And
Right.
so I remember my event at Tony Robbins, there was a gentleman there, Nick Santiaso, I think is his, I can't, it's a long last name, but he doesn't have legs and he doesn't have arms.
Oh,
And,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
phenomenal. And I remember him being on stage and he says, are you really going to allow a cripple to outdo you?
Oh my gosh.
And I remember first I was like, did he just say that? And
I mean, you have
and
to
then
look
it
at life
was
differently.
like, this man is thriving in life. He's living an amazing life. He was told he wouldn't. He's been a bodybuilder and a wrestler and like all these things. And I'm like, I'm gonna sit here and cry because I've been divorced, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Like, and I mean, it was a harsh statement, but it was also what I needed to hear, to be like, okay, you've never been a victim in anything. You have no reason to be embarrassed about this. Stop
Yeah.
carrying the shame that you think
Yeah.
you're supposed to carry, and let that go, because you get to now help other survivors realize that that moment didn't define them.
Hmm.
That moment was not caused by them. That moment was caused by another human being that had their own demons to battle. People are looking at us to see, okay, are we going to be the victim, or are we going to be the victor?
Yeah. Yeah. And when it's your kids, it just makes you want to, I
Hmm.
guess anybody like the man
Yeah.
with no arms and no limbs. I mean, that's how do you not get up and move forward after you
Yeah.
hear that? And
Yeah.
you're like, I'm whining. I
Yeah.
need to keep walking forwards. So you can't be the same person after you
Yeah.
have, someone tells you that and you see their situation
Hmm.
that's worse than yours. So, and that's what, this podcast has done for me. It's allowed me to see other people's hardships and how they walk through them, how they came out successful or a better person on the other side of it. And it's just been amazing because I'm like, wow, this is dumb. Like, why am I sitting here? For me, the world is so big and there's so many women out there that
Hmm.
are struggling. And I've got this little bitty problem of you got let go.
Hmm.
Okay, but you're breathing, your heart's
Hmm.
beating, you don't have a disease that's terminal, and I have my limbs.
Yeah.
Like, come on, go pour into somebody else. And the more I do that, the more I take my eyes off of my situation. And then I go, I do have a problem. Wait a minute. You tend to it's like these little pieces that just keep, like a dead flower, it
Yep.
just breaks off and it goes. And then it's like you just start to reveal the real person that you are the more I pour into other people. That's why I love doing what I do now.
Yeah.
It doesn't pay me anything,
No.
but it pays me an emotional healing.
Well, and here's the truth, like, the more you do it and the more you're serving and helping other people, the paycheck will come.
Yeah.
It will come. And I think sometimes we have to be stripped of all the things to get to that other side. I read every day, and I read everything from business and leadership books to a ton of communication and spiritual books. And Gabrielle Bernstein and Wayne Dyer are like my favorites. But Wayne Dyer, and he's got so many books that I've read, but there's one of them where he really talks about the ego. And, I grew up thinking that when you hear the word ego, it's, the that cocky, arrogant person.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's not. We all have that ego of being who we think we're supposed to be, being the strong person, carrying the weight of everything. And when that is dictating our decisions in our
Hmm.
life,
Hmm.
that's when something's going to happen to be like, hey, that's not who you are. That
Hmm.
ego, that identity is not who you are.
Yeah.
Know? And even, there's going to be moments where the ego will pop up. I navigate this even in what I do with work. There's a person that I really just don't like. And then I'm like, wait a second. Don't give him that power. Don't give him that
Yeah.
energy. Don't give him that control. You're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. You're making the impact. So don't worry about his journey. That's
Hmm.
him. Your journey is to not react to that nonsense and to stay very laser focused on being the good person. But then that ego's like, crush him, like, don't put up with that. Like, you're a strong woman. And I'm like, there's that internal battle. But then it's
Yeah.
like, okay, get grounded
Yeah.
and say, like, don't go there. It's just not,
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
That's good advice. As we come to a close, tell us a little bit about your book and how someone can purchase that. I will put a link in our description at the end of this.
So my book is ICU. And it's really kind of my guide of what I went through in the last 4 to 5 years. It's my healing journey. So, dealing with the grief aspect of losing Gabby to navigating divorce, I had to create a very strong power team of people to support me and guide me and coach me. And they were my group of people that held me to what I wanted in my life. And it talks about the different things that I did to heal. It started out as kind of like my journey. There was some things in there about what I experienced in the last marriage. The publisher was able to help navigate me. And at first I was like, man, I was really disappointed. But then as I rewrote some of the chapters, I was like, you know what? I don't need to say any of the stuff that he did. Anybody
Yeah.
that meets him knows. So it was more about, okay, let that go and honor what you're doing to grow as a person.
Jennifer, that's good advice right there. I'm a Christian, a strong
Mhm.
believer in God, and I truly believe that's what he wants us to do.
Yeah.
Because how do you get to the other side of healing if you're holding on to that?
Hmm.
Right. And I've been wrestling with this thought even this morning when I was
Yeah.
rushing to do my hair and it didn't work out, which is why I had this hat on. I was
Well, you
like,
still look beautiful.
thank you. But I was like, you know what, Melinda? Because I always talk about what am I going to say? And God, give me the words
Yes.
and lead the conversations. You've just confirmed it for me. You don't have to talk about what exactly happened explicitly. You don't have to let that go
Yeah.
because now I know that clearly. Thank you, Jennifer.
Well,
I don't have to go into detail. I
no.
don't.
No.
God's working that battle
Yep.
behind the scenes.
Hmm. Well, before we got on, I was listening to the Jay Shetty podcast, and he was talking about navigating heartbreak. And so,
Mhm.
and I don't think heartbreak is just when you're involved with a romantic relationship. It can be heartbreak
Yeah.
of your identity and your job. And he was like, so many people want to have closure and they want
Yeah.
to have those conversations and they want to relive it, but all that does is create more cortisol in the brain.
Yeah.
It's reliving, it's torturing yourself. The brain wants closure, but you don't have to have that with that other person or with
Yeah.
that company or anything. Like, you have to be willing to just say, let it be,
Yeah.
and it's easier said than done, but it really is about letting it be. I am in the process of a second book that's going to go hand in hand with this. My hopes
Nice.
is that it'll be on Amazon by August 1st. And it's going to be called Dear Beautiful Soul, ICU. And so it's a 90-day guided journal. So every day
Okay.
there's prompts on things to do for the healing process, along with some of the blogs that I've written and things like that. So, you can get my book on Amazon. You can get it through Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart, any place that the books are sold. The new book will be through Amazon only. But you can go to my website, which is jenniferjboutwell.com, my Instagram handle. All
And,
of those have links to get the book.
and what is your Instagram handle?
It's Jennifer underscore J underscore Boutwell.
Okay. Is it Boutwell?
Yeah,
Okay.
Boutwell.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I was saying Boutwell. So,
Yeah, it's Boutwell. Yeah,
okay.
you're
Okay.
saying it
Oh,
right.
well,
Yeah,
it's your accent,
it's my
Jennifer.
accent. Yeah, it's probably my accent. It's my
Okay.
accent comes and
Love it.
goes.
I love it. Well, I appreciate your time. I really appreciate
Yes.
you being on Crowned and Called.
Yeah.
And the way I like to just come to a final close is taking the action to move forward. If you can give our listeners, you've given us tons of stuff, but what's one strong piece of advice that like this is the staple piece of advice that every woman should take and execute and make happen to get to the next day, take the next step? What would that be for her?
I don't care if it's 10 minutes a day. For you, do something for you, whether it's breath work or prayer or just get quiet, do it for you. Time is our most valuable asset. And most people are like, oh, I don't have time, I don't have time. If you don't, the universe is going to make you have time. They're going to
For
knock
real.
you in your butt. And so you've got to learn to self nurture. It's not selfish, it is 100% selfless. And when you are filling your cup every single day, it will overflow and pour into everybody else. I watched an episode with Rachel Hollis many, many years ago, and she said, if you have a vase filled with water and you're constantly pouring that water into your partner and your children and your team, and you just keep pouring and pouring and pouring, eventually it's going to be empty, you know? But if you have a vase and you start pouring it with all the good stuff, so you get your sleep, you get your food, you get your water, you do your breath work, you move your body, you take 10 minutes to just pause, you're pouring more and more in the vase, and the vase is going to start overflowing, and everybody in your area is going to get that water, and they're going to get the love and what they need versus little bits here and there.
Nice. I'm going to take that today and execute that.
I love it. I love it. Do
I'm
something for
journaling
you.
after we and
I love it.
it'll be exciting. It'll be fun. And hopefully I'll have a paycheck by then.
Yes, yes. Manifest
I'm
it. Manifest
proclaiming
it.
it.